This evening's vigil and rally to commemorate the 99th anniversary of the Armenian genocide. My name is Jack Hajinian, and I will serve as your Master of Ceremonies this evening. And in addition to serving as your Master of Ceremonies, I also serve as the Mayor Pro Tem of this great city of Montebello. Couple announcements I'd like to, well, let me go back to this here. Well before any of my commitments or civic duties, I am a grandchild of a genocide survivor. My grandfather, Senekeri Marakelian, also took part in the Battle of Sardarabad at the tender age of 16 years old. And for years I walked to this very monument on April 24th with my grandfather from the city, the hill you see back there, where I live. And I did this year after year. And I remember my grandfather would walk with tears in his eyes. Most people read a story about the genocide. They're told a story that was passed down from a great-grandparent or a grandparent to their parent. Sometimes it's second, third. But I lived with my grandfather for 23 years, and I had my fair share of horrible stories. Stories that included execution-style shooting, the raping of women, the suffocation of babies, live burials, and the list goes on. My mother's family is from Terjan of the Erzurum province, and my father's family is from Hajin of the Adana province. And I'm proud to do everything in my capacity to tell the story and to continue to seek justice for our people. I'm going to ask the Homenamen Scouts to make their way to the stage for the national anthem, both of the United States and the Republic of Armenia.
Homenetmeni scoutner, Droshakakar, Kailaraj, on. Gang, Ar, Zakhwaj, Tars, Patvi, Ar, Drոշակակար, աջ, դարձ, քայլ առաջ, on.
Thank you to the Scouts. And at this time, to deliver this evening's invocation, our very Reverend Father Haid Miron Aznikyan to deliver the invocation. So would you please join us for this special prayer?
Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy. O Christ, Son of God, forbearing and compassionate, have mercy through your love as Creator upon the souls of your departed servants, and especially upon the souls of 1.5 million Armenian nation who were massacred and perished by the hands of the Ottoman Empire in the genocide of 1915. For whom we are offering these prayers and this commemoration. Be mindful of them and remember them in the great day of the coming of your kingdom. Make them worthy of your mercy, remission and forgiveness of sins. Illuminate and rank them among the saints of your right hand. For you are Lord and Creator of all, and Judge of the living and of the dead. And to you is befitting glory, dominion and honor, now and always and forever and ever. Amen.
And thank you, Haid Miron. This community is very fortunate to have such an addition to our parish at the Holy Cross Cathedral, to have Haid Miron's leadership at the church. We really appreciate that very much. That was very nice. I'd like to make a special announcement that yesterday the city of Pico Rivera adopted a resolution to create a friendship partnership with the city of Karbajar in the Republic of Artsakh, formerly known as Kelbajar. Of course, we thank the entire council for their unanimous vote, but it was the steadfast effort of the Armenian National Committee. So we'd like to acknowledge their efforts as well. Right now, as we gather here, there is a Guinness World Record being set at the Montebello Armenian Center by an individual by the name of Harach Arakelian. Harach will be lifting 1.5 million pounds. He started at 11 a.m. and he's expected to finish and set the record somewhere between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. this morning. So we're excited to host such a event like that in our city. Year after year, along with many of you, we gather at this monument to commemorate the genocide, to celebrate our existence, and look for answers. Answers to the question, how could the United States, this great nation, the promoter of democracy and freedom and liberty, not acknowledge the Armenian genocide? It's troubling that we allow a foreign country to dictate our foreign policy. Well, we know that there's economic and military benefit through this partnership of the United States and Turkey. But I hope tomorrow that President Barack Obama doesn't forget that when the United States needed the airspace to attack Iraq, Turkey wasn't that military partner. They demanded additional foreign aid. That doesn't seem like an ally to me. I'm sure it doesn't seem like an ally to you. We'll continue to tell our story, and believe me, we're accomplishing something. Every day, somebody in America, somewhere in the world, they're learning about this dark part of world history, the Armenian genocide. And just like us, these people wonder, how can such a great crime against humanity go unpunished? I'd like to share with you an article that was posted on Facebook, and this was a paragraph in Steve Jobs' book. It says, when Steve Jobs went to Turkey, he asked the Turks, "You subjected 1.5 million Armenians to genocide? How did it happen?" The Turkish tour guide Asil Tunker said, with respect to Apple Incorporated's founder, late Steve Jobs' visit to Turkey caused great uproar in the country. The guide claimed that Jobs considered the Turks as enemies, and he did not even shake hands when bidding farewell to the tour guide. Tuncer noted that when they had approached the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, and he had told that it was a church at first, but then it was turned into a mosque, Steve Jobs had asked, "You Muslims, what did you do to so many Christians? You subjected 1.5 million Armenians to genocide. Tell us, how did it happen?" And the Turkish tour guide's denials further infuriated Steve Jobs, who left Turkey one day early. To note, in Steve Jobs' biographical book, it is written that after the Armenian genocide, his stepmother, Clara Hagopian, had immigrated from Malatya, Turkey. Steve Jobs lost his battle to cancer at the age of 56. Steve Jobs, in my opinion, is my new hero. I'd like to recognize some very special people that are here today, starting off with our very Reverend Father Haid Miron. Thank you. The chairman of our local ARF Drogomide, Mr. Levon Giragosyan. From one of the largest cities in the San Gabriel Valley, Councilmember Jay Gomez of the city of El Monte. And just a few miles west, from the city of West Hollywood, Councilmember Jeff Pring. And last but not least, my colleagues on the City Council, Councilmember Vivian Romero, and Councilman Art Barajas. We have a few council members who are RSVP, they were attending, but I don't see them here. But at this time, I'd like to acknowledge some of our city commissioners that are here. We have recently appointed to Parks, Culture, and Recreation, Kevort Bagoyan. And we have two youth commissioners here. Actually, we have a planning commissioner here too. Ashod Muradian, my commissioner. Thank you. And we have two youth commissioners. First one is Bogos Iskadjan and Elizabeth Gonzalez. Like to acknowledge the good leadership of our cathedral, and we have some trustees here. I see Hamo Kasparian. And a very special group, if you are here, please stand up, the Armenian Relief Society. There's quite a few of you here, stand up. Let me mention what an amazing group the Armenian Relief Society is. They have formed a partnership to make holidays possible for a lot of our veteran families in Montebello, so thank you for that. I'm going to ask our elected officials to take the stage if they had a presentation. I know my colleagues from the city of Montebello do, and if anybody else did, they can please come to the stage at this time to make a presentation, and I'll ask our local chair, Levon Giragosyan, to join them.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I'd like to share that I marched today at 11:30 from City Hall with three of the Armenian schools that came. A couple were bussed in, and what a beautiful experience. And we came over here and we heard some lovely music, pieces that I've never heard. They are just beautiful Armenian traditional songs, and I just want to thank them for a lovely ceremony today. I'd like to present this along with my councilman here, Art Barajas, to Levon. It says, City of Montebello, a proclamation of the Montebello City Council Armenian Remembrance Day, a commemoration of the 99th anniversary of the Armenian genocide. And I hand this to you with great pride. And I thank you, all of you. You're my brothers and my sisters. It is with great honor that I present this to Levon.
Thank you, council members. We have very big shoes to fill. If we just look back over 45 years ago, we had a very courageous Montebello City Council that voted to approve the erection of this monument despite the Turkish lobby. And today I shared that story with the students of Mesrobian School, Arshak Dikarnian School, and the AGBU Manugyan School in the Valley about how special the monument is. This is the first genocide commemoration monument on public property in the world. Two people I overlooked was from Congresswoman Linda Sanchez's office, her representative, Yvette Shahinyan, and from State Assemblywoman Cristina Garcia's office, Marcos Aramillo. At this time, I'm going to invite the Mesrobian students to do a performance. Are they ready? So come take the stage, please. thank you to the principal, David Gugasian, for your leadership in the school. Thank you. You know, when I introduced our elected officials, I left a very special story out when I introduced the council member from West Hollywood, Jeff Prang. About 13 years ago, believe it or not, in the city of Glendale, there was an issue with lowering the flags on April 24th. I don't remember the council member's name who challenged the rest of the council about the idea of lowering the flags on April 24th. And an article was written, I believe it was in the LA Times. And Jeff Prang at the time read this article, and it inspired him to do something about that. And from that day till today, the city of West Hollywood observes April 24th. And thank you for that, Jeff. Now it's my pleasure to introduce to you a very special individual, a young man who's got a very bright future. Maybe one day he'll replace me on the city council, Bogos Iskadjian, to deliver a speech. Bogos is currently a senior at Armenian Mestrobian School. He currently serves as the student body president, and I'm proud to say he represents me on the Youth Commission in Montebello. He's also a member of the Junior State of America's cabinet, and he has interned for Congresswoman Linda Sanchez. He's been the chair of the Vahan Kardashian chapter of the AYF Juniors, and he will be continuing his education this fall, pursuing a degree in political science at UC Berkeley. That was just one of like a dozen schools he was accepted to. So Bogos, come on up and deliver your speech.
Thank you for that introduction. Dear members of the clergy, honored guests, and attendees, good evening. Today I want to talk about youth activism, all that the youth is doing within the Armenian community for genocide recognition, and all that can be done. For today's youth activism could range from attending a protest to the click of a button from the comfort of their own homes. I Zartong, an idea developed by the late Alan Yakikyan and carried on now by countless youth who heard its call, encompasses the idea of a revitalized Armenian cause, whose battleground is not only on the streets of the major cities around the world, but also on the countless web pages of the internet. A lot of the time there's a misperception about the youth. A lot of the times it's the youth is apathetic and the youth is not involved. I can say that there is nothing further from the truth. The truth is, the youth is just as energized as they have ever been. The only difference now is how we convey that energy through a different medium, through the internet. Today's youth are digital natives who have grown up in a world of unsurpassed technology. They are ever connected through Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and countless other facets of technology, and the list goes on. I am confident that we are now approaching youth activism in the right way. In the past, the message we have sent is, get off your smartphones, get off your tablets, get off your laptops, and do something useful. But today, the message that we are sending, and the right message is, use your smartphone to take a picture of this event, use your tablet to broadcast something live, use your laptop to blog about this issue or that issue. Recently, for those of you who are online, you may have noticed that for certain occasions and issues, there has been an extreme amount of coverage due to hashtags and trends. In the past few months, we have had terms like Armenian genocide and Save Kesab trend here in this community, in other communities around the world, and globally. We have had countless celebrities advocate on our behalf because they have seen the presence we have had worldwide. The best example to show the power of the internet is to look at the current situation in Turkey. We see a Turkish nation who today, day by day, is closing down at points of access of communication to its own people, most notably the recent bans on Twitter and YouTube. Yes, some of these actions are based on the current political dilemmas within Turkey, but this is not the first time that Turkey has taken such actions. The leaders of Turkey know that the spread of information is dangerous and it's a tool for the youth. They know that and they are using their power to cut off the flow of that information. This is something that we must use to our advantage because it's most likely not the stubborn leadership of Turkey who we are going to convince about the genocide, but the youth of Turkey. Through the internet, there's a possibility for a forum of open ideas and a chance of educating Turkish youth on what is now banned in Turkey, their own history. During the next 2 days, along with the protests in front of the consulate and the countless commemorations, I ask that all of you share in this collective cause by simply putting technology to use and using the hashtags Armenian Genocide and Turkey Failed when talking about these events. On another note, one that Mayor Pro Tem Jack Hajinyan and Councilwoman Vivian Romero talked about, this morning a group of almost 300 students from Armenian Mesrobian School, AGBU Manugyan Demircan and Arshak Dikranyan set out on a march to this monument from Mesrobian and City Hall. These students had a shared goal of commemorating the events that took place 99 years ago and becoming aware of the current effort toward recognition. What culminated was the interaction of Armenian youth from all over Southern California. They shared in their collective remembrance, but also in the statement that Turkey failed. They showed us what happens when you gather Armenians from all over the world. They create a new Armenia, whether that be on these sacred grounds or at Mesrobian, which was founded on the 50th anniversary of the genocide to show Turkey that they failed, or in their hearts as they shared a day with Armenian youth. Thank you.
And next, I'd like to invite no stranger of this community, graduate of Mesrobian School, active member of the Armenian Revolutionary Federation, and let me just introduce Dr. Armen Chalyan.
Ոգեշնոր հայրեր, սիրելի հայրենագիցներ, հարգելի քաղուտի անդամներ, բարեկամներ, հայ հեղափոխական դաշնակցության դրոկոմի դիության կողմեմ, I welcome you this evening to the Armenian National Committee's annual vigil. 99 years have passed since that day of infamy for Armenians, April 24, 1915. If Stephen Jobs were here tonight, we could tell him how it was done, since he asked that question. It started when the Armenian soldiers serving their civic duty as faithful citizens were disarmed and made to disappear. Then 99 years ago tonight, on the eve of the massacres, the remaining men and community leaders were rounded up and disappeared, never to be heard from again, leaving the women, the elderly, and the children defenseless for the deportations and massacres that followed. We all know that story. We all know it too well. For the students in the audience, we'll repeat them a bit, because they need to understand that this genocide was more than, it was brutal, It was dehumanizing. We've seen the photographs of the emaciated children. We've seen the photographs of the mass graves. We've heard about the pregnant whose unborn children were carved out to determine the sex to settle a bet among the Turkish soldiers. We know that the priests had their tongues cut out so they could not speak of Christ in the land of Allah. These truths are documented in the archives of many countries, including the United States, through the work of the ambassador to Turkey at the time, Henry Morgenthau. They've been documented through the lifetime work of UCLA professor Dr. Richard Hovhannisyan. They've been documented by filmmaker J. Michael Hagopian, who filmed the eyewitness accounts of the survivors. And today Steven Spielberg is converting those films to digital format so they may exist forever. Tonight we honor the memory of 1.5 million. Like Jack, my grandfather's family were among the victims. My grandfather, Asadur Çağlayan, was a boy when he hid among the dead until it was safe to come out. My father recounts that growing up at family events, there were no uncles or aunts. They had all perished, their families had all been killed. He knew no cousins. Think about that, young people, the next time you have a family get-together. You see, genocide's ramifications extend beyond the victims themselves. It changes families forever and alters the course of an entire nation. Over 1/3 to 1/2 of our nation, one of the oldest civilizations in the world, were uprooted from our homeland where we thrived since the beginning of time, seemingly erased from the land that we've inhabited for centuries. So we're here to remember and respect the dead. But we can't do it fully. It's hard. And it's hard because this crime against humanity remains unpunished. The Turkish government has not uttered one word of remorse. There has been no recognition, no reparations, no justice. That is what 99 years ago has to do with today. Tomorrow, on April 24th, no Turkish leader will lay a wreath at an Armenian genocide memorial. Unlike in Germany, where the German chancellor does every year for Holocaust recognition and respect. In fact, the opposite of recognition occurs in Turkey. Turkey budgets millions of dollars annually, spending your United States taxpayer dollars that they receive as aid for lobbyists, professional lobbyists, and public relations firms to prevent acknowledgments of genocide. In the ancient city of Ani, the Armenian city of 1,000 churches, there's no recognition or mention of its Armenian origin, not in travel brochures and not even at the site itself. In fact, there's visible evidence of intentional removal of Armenian letters and inscriptions on the churches. It's as if Turkey attempts to wipe us off the face of the earth entirely. With respect to justice and civil rights, there are no Turkish equivalents to our civil rights legislation that would uphold Armenian rights. In fact, the opposite exists in Turkey. Turkey's own scholars and intellectuals are pursuing modernization and have studied and agree and know what happened 99 years ago. They want their country to acknowledge this so it can move on, be respected in Europe and worldwide. These Turkish scholars, intellectuals, artists, activists, they face intimidation, censorship, and imprisonment. Not civil rights protection. Just 7 years ago, not 99 years ago, 7 years ago. There was no civil rights or justice for Hrant Dink, the Armenian newspaper editor who spoke and wrote about the Armenian genocide. A pacifist, really, who favored reconciliation and open dialogue. He was assassinated, gunned down in cold blood in broad daylight in Turkey's own capital city, Istanbul. And then a full government cover-up followed. There was no justice 7 years ago for Hrant Dink. Where were his civil rights? What is justice anyway? Justice is having done what is right, not what is politically convenient. Yes, Mr. Obama, it is not okay to recognize the Armenian genocide during your election and forget about it after being elected. Yes, Mr. Erdogan, Prime Minister of Turkey, it is not okay for Turkey to masquerade as a democratic nation and siphon off more US dollars in aid than any other country except Israel. Because Mr. Erdogan, in a real democracy, you could not be in power since 2002. In a real democracy, as my young colleagues stated, you cannot limit the press and outlaw YouTube and Twitter as you've done recently. And certainly, in a real democracy, you cannot direct radical militias to invade and depopulate the Armenian city of Kesab, right across your border in Syria, taking advantage of the Syrian instability. That was 2 months ago, not 99 years ago. Mr. Obama, you want Putin out of Crimea and the Ukraine? Well, be consistent. And first get Turkey out of Kesab now. So that the Armenians could return safely to their homes. What about reparations? That's easy. There have been none. In fact, again, Turkey promotes a policy opposite. Legitimate life insurance policies that genocide survivors held by European non-Turkish companies are vigorously opposed not to be paid by none other than the Turkish government in European court. Private funding efforts to revitalize our ancient churches are rejected. Armenia has outreached its hand recently to send architects and builders to help revitalize the city of Ani. They were rebuffed. Legal rights to land, not just someone saying we want our lands, but legal rights to land existing in the form of legitimate title deeds, of which I might add, my grandfather somehow got out of that country with him when he escaped. These legitimate title deeds that exist are deemed obsolete. They're 99 years old. But you know, 99 years is not that long a time. What seems unimaginable today can happen tomorrow. I remember a time when Armenia was a Soviet socialist republic. The Soviet Union seemed so strong. Turkey seemed insurmountable. US was backing Turkey. As a boy, I remember my father told me, he said, one day, maybe not in my generation, but possibly in yours, Armenia will be a free and independent country. Who knew that the Soviet Union would crumble, the Iron Curtain would fall, and in his lifetime, Armenia became free in 1991, declared its independence. So now, I tell my children, Turkey, we will have recognition and justice for genocide. It may not come in my lifetime, but perhaps in yours. It will come through our efforts, through our determination, because we have the blood and DNA of survivors. If you believe in natural selection, that means we are stronger. Our will is greater and our determination boundless. And one day, that title deed of land, maybe not in my generation, but maybe in the future generation, that title deed of land and those like it will reach their rightful owners. Recognition, reparation, repatriation, and justice. God bless our Armenian martyrs. May their souls rest in peace. God bless Armenia. God bless those who champion truth and justice, regardless of your ethnicity, Turk or Armenian. If you're for the rights of man, damned be those who, for short-sighted political means, cannot put pressure on Turkey to do what's right. Recognition, reparation, repatriation, and justice. Հայ հապաղական դաշնակցությունը կհավատա բոլոր մարդկանց իրավունքներուն պաշտպանությունը, մանավանդ մեր հայերուն։ Մենք պատրաստ ենք զարայելու մեր քաղաքին եւ միասին ցերկ-ցերկի աշխատելու մինչեւ վերջ։ Ասված մեր նահատակներուն հիշադակը միշտ բահե մեր միտքի մեջ, մեր սիրտի մեջ։ God bless their memory and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Armen Chalian. That was a very impressive and moving speech. Now for a little bit of entertainment, I invite to the stage Green Card, led by Krista Apardian, Alik Cherchian, Remy Kasarjan. Green Card is an Orange County band that was formed between friends. Each letter in the name stands for the initials of the band members. They find their inspiration in their community and the music that they grew up listening to. The band members write their own original songs and revamp Armenian classics as well. Please welcome Green Card.
Hayreni սրդում թե չընկնեմ ես մարդում ախ իմ այր թանկագին ծունգը կամ ես կրգին կսպոտեմ քո հոգին համբույրով սրտակին գցեմ քեզ իմ գցին ախ իմ այր թանկագին ծունգը կամ ես կրգին կսպոտեմ քո հոգին համբույրով սրտակին գցեմ քեզ իմ գցին ախ իմ ախ իմ ախ իմ ախ իմ Յակուշ պերվենյաց պատերազմին կողմնչեց Զարդիր որդ յակուշ պերվենյաց պատերազմին կողմնչեց Զարդիր քոչեց այն հայրենյաց կենացման ժամնչեց Զարդիր քոչեց այն հայրենյաց կենացման ժամնչեց
Like it was mentioned before, we do a lot of covers of traditional Armenian songs as well as other originals. This next song is a cover of a song called Until the End.
I'd like to announce that year after year, the Pasadena AYF and Hominid members march over 10 miles from the city of Pasadena to Montebello to this monument, and they are here now. So we'd like to welcome them up to the monument. Please stand and show some appreciation. Very impressive by the kids from Pasadena. Next, I'd like to invite Father Movsesian Father Vasken Movsesyan is an ordained priest of the Armenian Church and founder of In His Shoes Ministries, a faith-based organization which rallies support for those who suffer in the world. In His Shoes was created in response to acts of genocide perpetrated against the Armenian nation in 1915, with a fundamental belief that those who have suffered evil has a unique responsibility to take action against injustice to others. For over 30 years, Father Vasken has served the Armenian church communities in the Silicon Valley, Pasadena, and currently in Glendale at the St. Peter Youth Ministries Center. He has studied at the Monastery of Holy Echmiadzin, Armenia, and graduated from the University of Southern California with degrees in psychology and social ethics. Please welcome Father Movsesyan.
Thank you. Let's see if I can get this started, and if it doesn't, I promise I will abandon it. There we go. All right, it's not gonna cooperate, but well. Okay, շնորհ եւ արժանապատիվ եղբայրներ in Christos եւ հարգելի հյուրեր. Good evening, everyone, distinguished guests and family, Armenian brothers and sisters. It is truly an honor to be here, and I want to thank you all for inviting me today. It's an extra privilege and an honor for me because this monument has been such an important part of my life. At age 10, 8 or 9, my father was on the committee to erect this monument, so we wouldn't see him at nights. He would go out to these monument committee meetings, and a few years ago when they told us that there would be a plaque up there, today I got to see it with his name on there, and it just made me feel so beautiful, so great that in a way that we did something 50 years ago that wasn't just about the past, and that's not what this is about. This is not about the past. This is about honoring the past, but also respecting our today. Did you see green card today? This is Armenia living right now. In your face, Turkey, we are alive today, right? This is it. And not only about recognizing today, but establishing our tomorrow. And that's what I want to share with you today. And I want to share with you some ideas about what it means to be an Armenian today, what it means to be in light of this genocide, growing up Armenian. What Dr. Marashlian shared with us today, it never amazes me whenever I hear him speak, the many different new things that you would think there's nothing new about the genocide. But today, what did we hear today? That the Speaker of the House, Boehner, went to Turkey and said, don't worry about it. We are not going to write history. Can you imagine Boehner telling African Americans, don't worry, forget about slavery. There was no such thing. We're not going to write the history. Can you imagine Boehner going up to Jewish Americans and saying, you know what, we're not going to write history. But somehow when they do it to Armenians, it's okay. And I'm here to tell you it's not okay. At least not on my watch, and I know not on your watch. And I want to share with you a few ideas today. I was hoping that we'd get it did work. Okay, we got the full screen. Back in 2006, I was invited by Dr. Don Miller, you probably remember his name if I told you what he wrote. He wrote the book Survivors. He interviewed over 100 Armenian survivors, him and his wife Lorna, and it's been documented. And he's a professor at USC, and I studied under him. And he called me after about 20 years after my graduation. He said, Father Vasken, we're going to Rwanda. Are you interested in joining us? And there's about 8 people from the USC going. And I thought about it for a minute. Why would I want to go to Rwanda? And I thought, these people have gone through a genocide 10 years ago. What would it be like if I was back in Armenia in 1925? And I thought if I could go to Rwanda in 2006, a decade after the genocide, maybe I can get some clues about what life would have been like back in Armenia 10 years after the genocide. What would I have found? Who would I have found there? What were the people like? And What I want to share with you this evening is really an awakening and give me purpose of who I am and what I am. Let me share with you, first of all, this is Kigali. This is the capital of Rwanda. After 23 hours in airplanes that took us on the other side of the globe. If you want to know where Rwanda is, imagine Africa and then put your finger right in the middle of it. It's right on the equator, and we were there on March 20th, which happens to be the equinox as well. So we were right there in this heart of Africa, right on the equator, and this place had seen genocide. After 23 hours in the plane, we get there, and you know where they take us? The first place they take us. Where would you think? I mean, you know, let's put them in the hotel. Go up there, get relaxed a little bit. How about some food? No, guess where they took us? The first place, to the Genocide Memorial Museum. 10 years ago, they had genocide. Well, of course, it's important in their life. So they took us to the Genocide Memorial Museum. And I don't know if we're going to get full shots over here. Okay, great. This is the Memorial Museum. A big area of concrete. And we're walking around until we turned one corner. And what do we see there? We see that what we're walking on are mass graves. What do you do when you have 1 million people die? Where do you put them? And so they had created these giant mass graves. And each one of these coffins had 10, 20 people, bones, the remains of these people. Okay, so we're seeing this, and I'm looking at this, and it's tragic. Genocide, you know, as was explained today, it's not like war. Genocide is a systematic program of annihilation. You decide you're going to get rid of a whole group of people. And if you've seen the movie Hotel Rwanda, that made it famous, what was happening in Rwanda. Because unfortunately, the Rwandans were just like the Armenians. People didn't want to see. They closed their eyes, their ears, and their mouth. And so I go inside of the Genocide Memorial Museum. And guess what I start reading over there? I started reading the stories of these young children. And you know what? They were exactly the same stories that I had heard. I'm the grandchild of genocide survivors. Every story that I read here was exactly the same stories my grandparents had told me. In the middle of the night, the men would be rounded up. The women were raped. The children were taken away. Same stories. And like a little baby, I'm sitting there in this museum crying because I'm reading these stories and I'm imagining this little kid here. I figured this is like my grandfather. My grandfather wasn't an old man the way I remember him. He was 6, 7 years old when the genocide happened. And so like a little baby, I'm sitting there in this Rwandan museum and I'm crying. And something happened there, and I want you to always remember this because it changed my life. A young lady came up to me and she said, they speak in French over there. She said, "May I help you? Is everything all right?" She was one of the staff of the museum. And I said, "No, I'm fine." And she says, "Why are you so upset?" And I said, "Because my grandparents were genocide survivors." And what she said next is something that should haunt especially the young people. She said, "Which genocide?" Can you imagine? We're in the 21st century and we're still talking about which genocide? And I said, "The Armenian genocide." And she said, "Well, have you gone upstairs?" I said, "No, I've just been going." She says, "Come with me." She took me upstairs. She opened up this door to the upstairs. There is a room dedicated to the Armenian people in Rwanda. Look at that. You know which pictures those are? The same pictures that we see. Derzor. Armenia, it says up there. Guess what? In Rwanda, we're the heroes. Right down the street over here, I'm glad that West LA applauds the genocide, but you know in West LA there's the Museum of Intolerance, and there's not one little exhibit about Armenians. Not one here in America. In a museum that was created by Governor George Deukmejian, there's not one word. And in Rwanda, there's a whole room, an exhibit about Armenia. And I'm amazed. And I'm going through and I'm looking at these pictures, all the same pictures that you and I have all seen, the mothers walking through the deserts. And so this was my first day in Rwanda. And I said, this is going to be life-changing, and it was. So as the days went, I saw that there were so many different opportunities for me to compare Armenia and Rwanda. The next day, I met with children. Look at these children. Can you see it okay? Is this light? I hope it's not bothering you. These children were just like my grandparents. Look at the smiles on their face. They didn't have Wii's. They didn't have, at that time it was Nintendo and there was Sony PlayStation. They didn't have iPhones, but look at those smiles. And you know what they're playing with? It's a piece of garbage. It's a bunch of paper that they've taken and they've put rubber bands and they've made a ball, top. Look at that. The smiles. The clean. There's no dirt on them. This was like our grandparents. They had badiv. They had badiv. This is the problem of living in Glendale. I can't think in English. Pride. Okay. Badiv unenasan. That really is a problem in Glendale. And look at the pride that they had. And not a pride like, hey, look at me, but a pride in life. And this is what my grandparents gave me. This is what my grandparents gave all of us. This is why we're here tonight, because we understand what it means to be an Armenian. It's not about just putting a flag from year to year, but wearing that flag inside of our hearts. And so I met these kids, and they started telling me stories about the genocide. Then they took me to the River Nile. Do you know what they called the River Nile? The Red Nile. Just like we called it the Red Euphrates. And you know what stories they told me? How the women would go there, and they would jump in the water instead of being raped. How the Nile became so red because it was filled with blood. Every story we've heard about the Euphrates, they talked about at the Nile River. And then they took me to some very difficult places for me, where they had exhibited the skulls of people who they couldn't identify. This one skull that you see over here, it's been bashed. And they told me that's done with a machete. In other words, there's ways of killing people. You take the machete, and the machete, they told me, is not sharp. You just you hit the person until you break their skull open. And this was the way that they did it. You talk about inhumanity, I was starting to see, until I saw the next group of skulls. These were baby skulls. And I asked them, why babies? And you know what their answer was? Because they grow up to be the enemy. After about 3 days, I realized something very interesting. I had not met anybody with gray hair. Well, obviously, they went through genocide. The only people that were left were the kids. So I was meeting people that were about 20 years old at this time, 10 years later. And they took me to a village, and in this village, there was a group of women who all had gray hair. They had been isolated. And they said, why don't you get up, Father Voskin, get up and say a few words to these ladies. So I got up and, what are you going to say? There's about 200 people who've all been through genocide. And I looked at them, I said, I'm a priest. They're mostly Catholic. 90% are Catholic in Rwanda. I said, I'm a priest of the Armenian church. They looked at me, they smiled. And then I thought I'd impress them. I said, our church was founded in the year 40 by the apostles Thaddeus and Bartholomew. And they looked at me, and then they translated. Somebody said, this church was founded in French. They said his church was founded in 1940. I said, no, not 1940, 40. And they go, yeah, that's nice. And then I didn't know what to say. I just looked at him, and I just got filled with emotion. And I said, I'm looking at you, and I see my grandparents, I see my grandmothers. And I hope that when you look at me, you could see your grandchildren, that one day you're going to get out of this place. You're going to get out of this depression, out of this sadness. And it was at that point that they started talking. They started engaging with me. They started applauding. And all of a sudden, they started telling me what they wanted. And you know how we feel when somebody says, when we ask them, what do you want? We expect them to give us a list, and then we'll go to Costco and buy those things. You know what they wanted? They just said, don't forget us. Think about us every so often. Every time you talk about your genocide, remember our genocide. Now this picture over here, can you all see this picture? This is a very important picture because they're all raising their hand. After I spoke, one of the leaders got up and he said, why don't you speak, why don't we talk to the women over here? And so they asked the women, they said, how many of you are widows? And they all raised their hands. That's not what they're asking over here. That's not what they're raising their hands to. The next question was the important one. They said, how many of you have HIV/AIDS? And that's what they're answering. So the reason why these people were allowed to live was the final act of genocide. They didn't need to kill these people. They kept them alive so that they would infect the rest of the population. This is inhumanity. This is what genocide is all about. And what I have to share with you today is that, you know what? I'm not looking for anybody to tell me this genocide happened or it didn't happen. Is there anybody who doubts it? There shouldn't be one person. And we have to start respecting ourselves and understanding that we have an obligation in the world. Because the next thing that they did is after this thing got up, each one of them came up and started giving me a hug. And I'm going to change the picture because I'm embarrassed of that shot of me. But it gave me the opportunity to know that we are something very special as Armenians. And it's not about the past. It's about what we are and who we are today. The young man who spoke from Mesrobian today, I'm from Ferahian, so I will never take off my hat to a Mesrobiansi, except today. Today I will. What an incredible speech that was, because what did he say today? He said, don't get off of your pads, don't get off of your laptops, don't get off of your phones. Get on them and start telling the world. Start telling the world who we are. Not by saying, come and recognize us. That's important. That's very important. And thank God we have so many organizations that are doing. Get active in there. But also alongside of that, get out there and help people. Get out there and do the things that we've been taught. We are an Armenian Christian community from the year 40. We have Christ who gives us this one little example of saying, guess what? Love is more powerful than all the hatred out there in the world. Love will conquer the evil in the world. And guess what? We just saw it. Easter was last week. Guess what? With a crucifixion, there was a resurrection. Now it's up to us to be standing out there. And so I'm inviting you today to become real Armenians. To become real Armenians in the sense of living the faith. Going out there and hugging the people that need the hugs. Every month we're out on the streets of LA feeding the homeless. And you know what? Every month invariably somebody comes up to us and says, how come you're doing this? And we say, we take this moment there and we say, because at one point we were homeless. You know what they used to call us? The starving Armenians. Guess what we do now? You know California, the Central Valley? Do you know who owns it? The Armenians. We feed the most of the world. What starving Armenians? Okay, we are now past resurrection. We are now ascending. Okay, we are ascending and we have a responsibility to the rest of the world. And like it or not, that word responsibility is something that we have to accept. To get out there and be responsible. To help people wherever they are. And it doesn't matter who they are. What I showed you today are my black brothers and sisters. I never thought this in my life, but I became colorblind in Rwanda, because every one of them that I saw over there was like my mother, my grandmother, my grandfather. Each of them were the same stories with one difference. Their skin color was different, but guess what? It didn't matter. And that's how we've got to be. We are the citizens of the world. Armenians are the shining star of this world. We are the people that have to be out there giving that example to the world that we saw the crucifixion, we are here at resurrection, and we are ascending. And that's the spirit that lives on in me. And in the shadow of this monument today, I am honored to share that message with all of you. God bless you, and God bless the Armenian people.
Wow, that was an impressive presentation and speech. And on that happy note, let me bring back Green Card to the stage to perform another song.
It's called Broken Roads. It's about a few different stories. Did you find it?
This song, we all went to Arigiragos Mirasyan Haigagan Barjaran, and I got to have the privilege to go to our class trip to Armenia. This was back in 2008. And I remember being in Gharapagh. Wow, it was beautiful. There was a lady, we got lost, so we asked this lady, oh, how do we get to Shushi Hotel? What's the quickest way? And she's like, oh, I'll show you a shortcut. This was the longest shortcut I've ever taken. Oh my goodness. And she was not tired and we're all dying. But on our way up to the Shushi Hotel, she was just telling us of the stories of what they went through during the war. And so it really touched me. So I ended up coming back home and ended up writing a song on how I felt. So this song is called Broken Roads. Oops. Okay. I was walking with a woman on this broken road, listening to stories that I've never been told. Oh girl, she said to me, what could have been if fate could see? We're holding on for as long as we can, but only for so long the beating heart could stand. I was walking with a woman on this broken road, and this was the story that she told. Since a boy he'd been running, and now he became a man. She looked deep into his fire eyes and could not understand the heartache and going, for he'd grown up to be a survivor from a great tragedy. Oh girl, she said to me, what could have been if fate could see? We're holding on for as long as we can, but only for so long the beating heart can stand. I was walking with a man in the mountains so cold, listening to stories that I've never been told. Oh girl, he said to me, What could have been if faith could see? We're holding on for as long as we can, but only for so long the beating heart could stand. I was walking with a man in the mountains so cold. This was a story that he told. With his father, he had worked these lands, but now all that you could see were ashes in the grains that were once so gold. Drowned into fear, he's still not sold. Oh dear, this was the boy the woman spoke of on the road. His eyes of fire, this was what he told. Oh girl, he said to me, what could have been if they could see? We're holding on for as long as we can, but only for so long the beating heart can stand. Oh girl, they both said to me, what could have been if they could see? We're holding on for as long as we can, but only for so long the beating heart can stand. Da 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 da. Oh, 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 oh. Da 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 Thank you. We'd like to say that we're very honored and happy that we got invited to play here tonight. We are on Facebook, so we are Green Card.
Like us on Facebook.
Please. We will also be performing at the Sosa and Allen benefit concert on May 4th, so be sure to come.
Buy your tickets.
We know it's late, so thank you for sticking around and listening.
Thank you, Green Card.
Thank you.
Before I invite our clergy to begin the Requiem service, I'd like to leave you with this message that was posted all over social media, and it was a statement that was made by the Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan. He offered his condolences today for the first time for the mass killings of Armenians under Ottoman rule during World War I. His comments came on the eve of the 99th anniversary of the mass deportation of Armenians in 1915. Turkey denies Armenian claims that up to 1.5 million people were killed and that it constituted an act of genocide. Mr. Erdogan said that the events of 1915 had inhumane consequences and expressed hope that those who died were at peace. Turkey maintains that many of the dead were killed in clashes during World War I, and that ethnic Turks also suffered in the conflict. The exact nature of what happened remains highly contentious and has continued to sour relations between Turkey and Armenia. In his message, Mr. Erdogan stopped short of using the term genocide to describe the mass killings. Then he goes on with shared pain. Mr. Erdogan struck a conciliatory tone in his statement on Wednesday, in which he offered Turkey's condolences to the grandchildren of Armenians who lost their lives in 1915. In the statement, which was translated into 9 languages, including Armenian, he described the events of World War I as our shared pain. And this is what he said: having experienced events which had inhumane consequences, such as relocation during the First World War, it should not prevent Turks and Armenians from establishing compassion and mutually humane attitudes towards one another. He said millions of people of all religions and ethnicities lost their lives in the First World War. But he said it was inadmissible for Armenia to use the 1915 events as an excuse for hostility against Turkey, and to turn the issue into a matter of political conflict. This is the first time a Turkish leader has formally offered condolences for the mass killings. I don't know about the rest of you, but when I think of relocation, I think of objects, not people. You relocate cars, boxes. How do you classify what happened in 1915 as relocation? Do yourselves a favor and join me tomorrow at 4 o'clock at the Turkish consulate. Another reason to state the record that what happened was genocide, and we will not compromise. I want to thank you again for taking the time to be here and joining me and everybody else as we commemorated the genocide and we celebrated our existence. We had some very happy moments, some solemn moments, some inspiring moments, and moments that definitely have reaffirmed my commitment to doing the right thing. And at this time, I'd like to call up our clergy, Very Reverend Ardmiro Naznikyan and Father Ded Ashot, to begin the Requiem service. Thank you again.
մանկուցելոց Քրիստոս ասված արահանքիս եւ ողորմություն եւ մեզ մեղավորած շնորհի աստողություն անցնած
Եվ եւս խաղությանս դեր աղաչեսուկ վասնակուցյալոք ոս աղաչեսուկս պրգիչը մեր Քրիստոս Դիզնոս անթարթար սնտասեցե եւս մեզ գեցե շնորհի ողորմության յուրո ամենագա դերասված մեր գեցո եւ ողորմյա
դեր որմյա Քրիստոս որդի աստուծո անոխագալ եւ բարեկուտ Կթակո արարչական սիրոդոքի սանկուցյալ համորեն ննչեցելոսն ասկիս հայոց Պայս մանանտ դեր հիշաս հոգիսն առավել քան 1.5 միլիոն նադագացն ասկիս հայոց որ անգան իցերընցեղասպան Թուրքին համին 1914 եւ 21 թվականներուն Հիշյա դեր հավուր մեծի կալստյան արքայության քո Արա արժանի ողորմության, քավության եւ թողության մեղած, հասավորյալ բարձրացո, ընսուրբս քո աչագոմյան թասուն, զիթու ես դեր եւ արարիչ ամենեցուն, թադավոր գենթանյաց սեմերելոց, եւ քեզ վայրը փառք իշխանություն եւ բադիվ, այժմ եւ իշվավիճան սավդենից, ամեն։ Հանուն Սուրբ խաչ մայր դաջերի հոգապարսության եկեղեցականած եւ մեր հոգապարսության ժողովրդին անունով շնորհակալություն գայտնենք Թրոգոմի դեյության, որ այս քեղեցիկ ավանդությունը ամեն տարի նադագած հիշադակին ոգեգոճման այս հսկումի երեգոներով, հասախոսական հավաքներով, աղոթքով այս մանավանդ Բանչադիրության փոքիով, աբակային գնայի, միշտ հույսերով լեցուն, վաղվան նոր սերունտին հետ, մեր նոր սերունտի պտած որպես ծաղիկներ, պտած որպես արմավենիներ, որոնք իրենց նախահայրերը գոդորվեցան, բայց այդ ծարին փունեն, այդ ծարին ջուղերն անգամ եւս քարնանես երեգոյան եւ արաբոդյան անոնք դարձագեցան մենք խաչին գնայինք եւ խաչեն անթին կողկոթային անթին մահեն անթին հարության գավադանք ինչպես որ դերվաստեն իշեցուց եւ հարութենե անթին համբարձման եւ հարաճ չիմության եւ հարաճ խաղացքին այսօր խաչին ընդմեջեն Քրիստոսի եւ Աստծո շունչը փչեց մեր ժողովրդի զավակներուն վրա, անոնք անաբատներու մեջ էին, անոնք գոդորված էին, անոնց ոսկորները այսօր նոր սերունդի միջոցով ճիղ եւ արյուն ստեցան, մգան գազմեցին եւ ահա այն հայերը, որոնք քաղաքական էին, այսօր բանջադեր են, այն հայերը, որոնք քերված էին Համենավարության լուծին դակ այսօր ազատ անգախ եւ ժողովրդավար հայրենիք ունենք այն հայրենիքը որ ապ մնե միայն այն հսկա դարասներեն որ թուրքերը եւ մեր ճշտամիները մեզ մեղլեցին մենք այս նադագած հուշարձանին արչեւ անոր արչեւ հավատքով որպես ասկ եւ ժողովուրդ գուխտենք հավատարիմ մնալ մեր նադագած հիշադակին Հավատարիմ մնալ Աստուծո, մեր քրիստոնեական հավատքին, մեր հայոց պատմության, մեր հայոց լեզվին, մեր մշակույթին եւ ամեն քնով պաշտպան եւ դեպի գանքնենք հայրենիքին, շենցնենք մեր Հայաստան հայրենիքը եւ ինչու՞ չէ աբակային, դեստավար աբակային նայելով մեր նոր սերունդները պիտի հարաճ քալեն Եվ ընեն ամփոփչական Հայաստան, ամփոփչական հայությամբ իր հայրերու օրանեն ներս։ Անցյալ երկու օրերուն տասկին զատկվան արավոդը, նախորդ չարչարանած մատնության, խաչելության և թաղման արաութենեն ետքը կողքոթայի պարսունքին պաշրացած խաչյալ Քրիստոս հարություն արավ եւ իր այդ հարություն արինք մենք որպես ազգ եւ ժողովուրդ ըսին չարթենք հայերը մեկ հայն ցկենք անալ կանցադան մեջ անալ որպես օրինակ մնա բայց այսօր թուրքը բարդված է որովհետեւ մենք տեսանք մեր մանուկները մեր աշակերտները մեր երիտասարդները որոնք հայերեն լեզվով արտասանեցին եւ երգեցին ուզեցին այդ երգը գոտրել ուզեցին խլել եւ խլցնել եւ գղբել ականջներն ու ցայները մեր բայց այսօրոպես վերագանքնած հարություն արած ժողովուրդ աշխարհին գսենք գանք պիտի մնանք շադանանք եւ զորանանք եւ վերադիրանանք մեր հայրենի խլված հողերուն այն վանքերուն որոնք փլացան այն դաջաններուն որոնք ախորի վերածվեցան անզան քաղաքներուն որոնց ղանջները լրեցին անգամ եւս հարութենական հաղթական ցայներով պիտի ղանջենսեն փառք հարության կոդեր փառք հարության քու ժողովրդին որ հավատաց խաչի ջամփային քալեց խաչի ջամփայով բայց հոն չմնաց այլ հարություն արինք թող մեր նադագած 99-ամյակի այս դոնախմբությունը հիշադակի այս հարկանքը մեր մտքերում մեջ մեր հոգիներում մեջ դեղավորվին եւ վաղվան նայինք հաղթական հորիզոններով միասնապար կորզակցելով ահա էջմիածնական կանան իմ հետս է ահա մեր գիլիգյան միապանությունը եւ վարդապետը մեր ժողովուրդը թուրքը չսավասիգա էջմիածնական է ասի փոխկական է ասի կաթոլիկ է հայերը չարթեց եւ մենք այդ միասնությունը պետք ունենք որ միասնապան փրունց գազմած միասնական ջիքերով ազատագրենք եւ ամբողջ աշխարհը իմանա հայության միասնականության հզորության եւ հավատքին վրա թող ասված օրհնե հայ ժողովուրդը թող հանգիստ ըլլան մեր նադագած ոսկորները վասն վաղվան հարության եւ վասն վաղվան հաղթանակին թող մերները հանգիստ ընչեն մենք իրենց կորզի շարունակենք շնորհիվ ձեզ նման հավատավոր ասկասեր հայանասեր ճշմարիտ հայերու օրհնյալ դեր մեր Հիսուս Քրիստոս ամեն Հայր մեր օրենքից սուրբ եղիսի արունքո եգրեսե արքայություն քո Զիքոյ արքայություն է, զորություն է փառք, հավիտյանս հելդենից ամեն։
Հայոց պացվի կրներն ու սաղ եգրեն բաղդացներ շրտնալ երգին մեր արմենյո և բայլեյուր David, Yelur, Amen. Mer hayrenik azadan gal, Vora prenes arenar, Yurvortika arkançune, Azadan gal ayastan, Yurvortika arkançune, Azadan gal ayastan. Amen ayne mağamiye Marmiyankam gitmeli Ayşerani voriraski Azaduzyan gözovi Ayşerani voriraski Azaduzyan gözovi
Seyte hayus bakmutcan meç Ardavaz takavırı Gam dagavin işhanev Pandargıvetsav Խորը ստորինգա եւ շղթայվեցավ Մենք այսօր այդ նույն արդավաս հայ իշխանն ենք շղթայված չարին կողմը բայց ըստ ավանդության հոգի շուները գային որ գոչվեին հարալեզներ անոնք հարալեզ միշտ գլզեին որբեսի հալեցնեն այդ շղթաները եւ արդավաստը դուրս կա մեր այս աղոթները այս մեր բատկամները այս մեր հավատքները այս մեր ցույցերը այս մեր հայրենասիրական բորտկումները հարալեզներու նման պիտի մաշեցնեն շղթաները եւ օրմը արդավաստը նոր երդասած սերունդ հայ ժողովուրդը պիտի ոտքի գտնի եւ ազատագրե դերլա իր հայրենի քահին եւ թագավորության աբրիկ հազար աբրիկ